Hey guys, my name is Meow, and today I was planning on giving my first impressions of the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and we will get to that here in a second because I am enjoying the game a lot, but I wanted to start today's video by asking the question, is there seriously only 2 ground war maps in the game right now? One of the biggest reasons why I was excited for the new Call of Duty was the addition of these larger game modes. It was something that they even had in the beta, and you would assume that the beta would be a fair representation of what the main game was going to have to offer at release, or at least you would assume that you would get significantly more of that kind of content, but that just doesn't seem to be the case here, and I don't know about you, but 2 maps just simply isn't enough. I think the reason why it's so disappointing is that I have thoroughly enjoyed my time on this game mode. I find that large-scale action to really resonate with me. It's the reason why I enjoy playing the Battlefield franchise so much. And while I wasn't expecting it to be essentially Battlefield 2.0, like I still know that this is Call of Duty, I was expecting them to at least have more content for this specific game mode. Now, some people are saying that eventually they will be adding in a 3rd one. The Palace map in particular seems like it's large enough for it. If you've ever played the 10v10 version of it, it's gigantic. It seems like it would be large enough to accommodate that larger player counts, but for some reason, it's not in the game right now. And so all I can say is that if you were someone who was solely interested in that larger scale gameplay, you're probably going to be disappointed here. The maps that are there I find to be fun. They're not perfect, and we will get to that here in a second, but I do find them to be enjoyable, but to have only 2 of them, like that eventually is going to be repetitive. You're going to have to play the other game modes, the smaller maps, if you want to get the most out of what this game has to offer. As for the maps themselves though, with a couple of exceptions here and there, I've had a lot of fun with them. Now I realize that not everyone is going to agree with me on this one because I've already noticed a fair amount of people online have been upset with said map design because they are a lot larger and more open-ended compared to past Call of Duty games. There's a lot more angles that you have to watch out for. Now maybe this is just due in part because I come from a Battlefield and a Rainbow Six Siege background where I'm used to taking things a bit more slowly and methodically and checking all my angles before I push up onto the objective, but I enjoy that kind of design compared to the standard, more arcadey 3 lanes of the past COD games. What this means in terms of gameplay, though, is that you're almost required to take it at a slower pace. If you're assuming that you can run around as quickly and aggressively as you can in past Call of Duty games, you're probably going to be in for a rude awakening. It's still possible with the right weapons and loadout, especially if you build your attachments around that kind of playstyle, it's still somewhat viable, but because of all those different angles that anyone can be at any given moment, it's going to be difficult to actually be successful. On top of the fact that there is a blazing fast time to kill right now. You are going to melt people that you come across. Like, it's almost instantaneous in some cases, coupled with a slower movement. It's much more clunky compared to past games. On top of a slow aim down sight speed, it just, like I've been saying this entire time, it rewards you for taking things methodically and slower than you would in previous CODs. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just different. The Call of Duty franchise has been known for doing the same thing over and over and over again, and this is a pretty big departure. And so for some people, this is going to be a breath of fresh air, and for me, I'm in that category. I have thoroughly enjoyed this gameplay. I've had an absolute blast, but I know for others, this is the complete opposite of what they wanted, and I can absolutely see where they're coming from. Players have grown to expect a certain playstyle in the Call of Duty franchise, and now that that is not really as prominent as it was before, I can understand why they'd be upset about that. Now, even for someone who is enjoying this kind of gameplay, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. And one of the things I've quickly noticed is that there are some maps in particular that leave a bit to be desired. The Ground War map that you guys are seeing right now, I can't remember the name of it, it is gigantic and there's a lot of rooftops. Now, there's a fair amount of cover for you to be able to move from point A to point B, but I don't really understand why they have to allow all players to be able to be on any rooftop at any given moment. They have minimized this a little bit because there are very large ledges on the top of it, so if you do want to be able to take people from above and have that verticality, you need to jump up onto this ledge, which leaves you pretty much exposed to anyone that's looking up at you. But if you're not looking up, because you can't at all times, because these are like 17-story buildings, you're gonna get taken out seemingly out of nowhere nowhere because of this verticality. It doesn't ruin the map per se, but it was definitely something that I noticed very, very quickly. One thing that I have thoroughly enjoyed though is the sheer amount of customization. Most weapons in this game, give or take, have around 70 different attachments available to them at any given moment, and this allows you to min-max and tailor it to your playstyle. You want to make the Odin incredible at long range? You have every ability to do so. Reduce that recoil, make it so that its damage drops off further out. You have the tools at your disposal. I think the only downside of it though is, like we talked about earlier, is that a lot of these attachments don't really allow you to tailor it to more of that aggressive playstyle. I tried to make a couple of these weapons really great at aim down sight and movement speed. I put basically everything on them to make it so that I would do well in close encounter situations. And while for the most part, it accomplished this goal. I was able to hit fire people down more effectively. I was winning some engagements simply because I was able to aim down sight faster and get that improved accuracy. I was also noticing that it didn't seem like it was that big of an improvement. Even when I tried to put everything into improving that aim down sight speed to make it as fast as possible, it's still really, really slow. Now, I don't know if this is a bug or a glitch, or maybe they need to move some numbers around, but I was kind of expecting it to do a bit better with these attachments. If you look at the other attachments available that allow you to excel at long range, you definitely notice a difference. Like all of a sudden you slap all of them on and you're laser beaming people at long range. Now, it does come with some downsides. Your aim down sight speed in particular really slows down when you're using those, but you at least notice a significant difference. I didn't really notice that for more of those close range attachments. This could be just simply because I am not using the right weapons. Maybe eventually because I haven't unlocked everything in the game. That's one thing that we'll talk about here in a second. The grind is real. There is a lot of grind here. And so maybe when I unlock some other weapons with certain attachments, that will allow for more of those playstyles. But at least for my first impressions, that was one thing that I noticed. Speaking of that grind though, it is significant. It took me around 8 to 9 hours to unlock all the attachments for one weapon. That doesn't include all of the visual customization, like the different camos, or being able to unlock the different reticles. You can actually customize the reticles for all of the different optics, and there's like 21 optics. So there's a lot to enjoy there, a lot to unlock, but it's gonna take some time. For those players out there that really wanna sink their teeth into this and have a lot to unlock, you're probably gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of this. The downside of this though, is that if you aren't someone who can spend 8 to 9 hours on just a single weapon to feel like you're getting the most out of it, this is going to be a pretty big drawback. Now, I feel like for most weapons, you don't need every single customization unlocked for that weapon to perform well. A lot of them, you don't need any customization whatsoever. Just the base weapon by itself can do just fine. But there are some out there that really almost require those attachments for them to be viable. Or if you want that certain playstyle, you have to grind for it. And for some players out there, that grind is going to take way too long. And so while for me personally, this isn't really a deal breaker, for players out there that can't invest that much time into a game and they just want to have great weapons available to them at a reasonable pace, this might be a downside that they need to take into consideration. All in all, though, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with the new Call of Duty. There are a couple of exceptions here and there, mainly the fact there's only 2 ground war maps. One theory that I have is that they were not confident in this mode. Maybe they thought it was such a departure from the franchise that it wouldn't be all that successful. Most people wouldn't want to play on it. And so they just didn't develop a lot of maps. They were just kind of testing the waters. That's distinctly possible. But man, you would have thought that they would even have more than 2 or even 3. Like 3 is such an insignificant amount. This was one worry that I had during the beta. If they were going to develop, 10 plus maps for the smaller game modes and then had like 5 plus for the large scale maps, like that's a lot of maps. That's a lot of content. They even have the 2v2 maps. And so I realize that there's a lot on their plate and there's a lot of things that they have to develop, but I still was expecting a bit more. In general, though, this has definitely been a breath of fresh air for me. I enjoy that slower paced gameplay, and so this has been right up my alley, but I can also understand why people have maybe been a little less satisfied than I have. Yeah, guys, that is what it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you having fun with Modern Warfare? What things do you like? What do you dislike? What do you think that they could improve upon? Give me guys' thoughts down below. Yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one and take it easy.